It was a bitterly cold evening in New York City. Snow blanketed the sidewalks, muffling the sounds of the bustling streets and turning the town into a quiet white wonderland. As the sun dipped below the horizon, street lamps flickered on, casting a golden glow over the snowflakes that continued to fall like tiny miracles. At the corner of an old brick building, nestled between towering brownstones, a small family faced a turning point. A man sat on the front steps, his breath visible in the frosty air. In his arms, a little girl, no more than 4 years old, wrapped in a pink winter coat and a cloud of golden curls, clung to his chest. Her cheeks were red from the cold, but she didn't cry. She just watched her mother quietly, as though she could sense the weight of the moment. The mother stood, her arms crossed but not in anger. Her eyes, filled with conflict, darted between the man and the child. She had left home 3 days earlier after a terrible argument. Things had been rocky for months, misunderstandings, work pressure, parenting stress, but that night, something had snapped. And yet, despite everything, here she was, standing on the doorstep again. And the man? His hand hovered inches from the doorbell. He hadn't rung it. Not yet. But the child had insisted they come. She'd said, "Daddy, let's go see Mommy. I miss her. Please." And something in her tiny voice had melted the ice around his heart. As they sat on the steps in the freezing cold, a small miracle was about to unfold. John and Emily had been married for 7 years. They had met during a charity event, where Emily was volunteering and John was handling media coverage. Sparks had flown, and within a year they were married. Their love story had felt like something out of a movie. But life is not a movie. Bills stacked up. Their daughter, Sophie, was born with a minor heart condition that required regular checkups and added stress. John's job demanded long hours. Emily, once an energetic artist, had given up painting to take care of their child full-time. Slowly, resentment crept in like a silent fog. They stopped talking. Fights became more frequent. One evening, during an argument about something as trivial as laundry, Emily had screamed, "I can't do this anymore," and walked out. John hadn't stopped her. Pride. Pain. Anger. It had consumed them both. But Sophie, blessed with the innocence only a child can possess, had other plans. On the second night without Emily, Sophie asked, "Daddy, where's Mommy?" John avoided the question. "She needed some time to think, sweetheart." Sophie blinked. "Did you make her sad?" John's throat tightened. "Maybe a little." "Can we say sorry?" "You say sorry, and I say sorry too, and we all be happy again." John was stunned by her simplicity. No ego. No justification. Just love. That night, John sat awake staring at old photos, their wedding, Sophie's first steps, Emily's painting exhibitions. He saw something in those images he hadn't noticed in a long time, joy. And he realized how much of it they had lost chasing things that never mattered. He made a decision. The next morning, he bundled Sophie in warm clothes, told her they were going on a little trip, and left a note at the apartment for Emily, just in case she returned. They walked through the snow-covered city, Sophie giggling at every flake. John carried her when her legs got tired. It was cold, but there was a fire in his chest, a determination not to let his family crumble. When they reached the door of Emily's temporary apartment, he hesitated. What if she doesn't want us, he thought. Sophie looked up at him and smiled. It'll be okay, Daddy. John looked at the doorbell. And sat down. He didn't press it. Instead, he sat with his daughter and waited. Maybe fate would do the rest. Emily had been watching them from behind the curtain. When she saw them arrive, she didn't know what to feel, surprise, anger, guilt. But when she saw John sit instead of ring the bell, something inside her broke. Not out of pain. Out of understanding. He wasn't demanding. He wasn't blaming. He was just present. And Sophie, her little Sophie, looked so happy despite the cold. Emily opened the door. No words were exchanged at first. Only silence. Then Sophie leapt forward, arms open. "Mommy!" Emily bent down, holding her close. Tears warmed her frozen cheeks. "I missed you so much," Sophie whispered. "I missed you too, baby." Then she looked at John. Their eyes locked. "I didn't know you were coming," she said softly. "I didn't either," John replied, standing. Sophie insisted. Emily chuckled faintly. "Of course she did. I didn't come to argue. I didn't come to explain. I just came to listen. And maybe say sorry. If you'll let me." Emily glanced at Sophie again. "Come inside. It's freezing." Once inside, the warmth of the apartment melted more than just the snow on their jackets. They Saturday. They talked. Not like before, no shouting, no blaming. Just two tired souls trying to understand where they went wrong. Emily shared how isolated she felt, how lonely motherhood had been. John admitted he'd become obsessed with providing, thinking it would fix everything. "I thought being a good provider was enough," he said. "I thought being a good mother meant giving everything up," she responded. And there it was, all the truth. Raw and real. They cried. They laughed. They remembered who they were before the weight of life buried them under expectations. And for the first time in months, they saw each other, not as enemies, but as partners. That night, Sophie slept in her mother's arms. John and Emily sat on the couch, watching her. "I don't know if we can fix everything," Emily said. "Maybe not. But we can try," John replied. Emily leaned against his shoulder. "Do you think love is enough?" she whispered. "No," John said honestly. "But love with effort, humility. And patience might be." They didn't promise forever. They promised today. And then tomorrow. One day at a time. They decided to go to therapy. They made plans to balance responsibilities better. John reduced his work hours. Emily picked up her brushes again. Sophie returned to a home filled with laughter, not arguments. And every now and then, John would smile at that doorbell and think, "That moment changed my life." Life didn't become perfect overnight. They still had disagreements. There were bad days. But now, they didn't give up on each other. They fought for their family instead of within it. And Sophie? She grew up watching her parents transform. She learned that adults can make mistakes, but they can also change, heal, and grow. Years later, as a teenager, she painted a picture for an art competition. It showed a man, a woman, and a little girl on a snowy doorstep, just like that day. She titled it, "The Day Love Rang the Bell Without Pressing It." It won first place. But more importantly, it told a story. A story about forgiveness. About showing up. About how a small decision, sitting on a doorstep instead of walking away, can change everything.